We want to hear from you guys. So if you have a player that you think was a little bit surprising, tell us who your most surprising player is so far. We're going to pick one random person that comments a player, and we're going to send them a Dynasty Nerds t-shirt. So if you have a player that you're surprised about, go ahead and put in the comments who you think the most surprising player of 2024 is so far. Once again, there was craziness in week 3. So many upsets, so many guys performing out of nowhere or guys we expect to perform, just totally putting up duds. So let's recap what happened in week 3. And just a little note to start. I know every time I bring it up, I get a bunch of haters, but Bucky Irving, Rachaad White, look how it's looking. All right, I'm not going to say anything else about it. I'm going to leave it alone. All right, let's get to Rashee Rice. I updated my rankings. I moved him all the way up to wide receiver 10. But even now, this is starting to feel like, man, maybe I still need to keep moving him up. When you're looking at targets, he is the number 3 most targeted wide receiver, and that's coming from arguably the best quarterback we've had in a long time. So, yeah, Rashee Rice is going to continue to be really good. He's getting the ball a ton. I don't see any chance of this changing. Another week, he had 14 targets in this offense, another 100-yard game here for Rashee Rice. He's going to move up my rankings probably once again, and he's now entering that top 5 or 6 type of discussion with how well he's been playing. Next up, what's going on in Carolina? Yes, we know the benching of Bryce Young. It wasn't a huge surprise with how poorly he'd been playing, but we just didn't expect it to happen that quickly. But Andy Dalton comes in, puts up 3 touchdowns in the first half. Huge game for him, over 300 yards, currently the quarterback 5 on the week. But even bigger than him, it's all of the pieces around him. Now Chuba Hubbard seems viable. Deontay Johnson with a massive game. Xavier Legette involved. I love what I'm seeing here. Dave Canales is a great offensive coordinator, great offensive mind, and now he's a head coach here in Carolina. Better days are ahead, but I think this tells us that maybe these pieces in Carolina are going to be valuable. Maybe not as much right now, but they will continue to be valuable in the future. Keep in mind Jonathan Brooks and whoever they might draft in the coming years. The tight end position has been brutal. We have no players right now giving us consistent week in and week out production. Through 3 weeks, we don't have a single tight end that has given us double-digit points each and every week. We were thinking that was going to be Brock Bowers. That didn't end up happening. Mark Andrews is out here not even running routes, getting us 0 points on 1 target. Travis Kelce is just meh. Kyle Pitts finally had a decent game, but it's still not quite enough for what we're hoping for fantasy football. We'll see what Dalton Kincaid does tonight, but overall, the tight end position has been a giant flop here in 2024. Malik Nabers, another guy that I moved up in my wide receiver rankings this past week, all the way up to wide receiver 5. There is an argument to be made that there could not be a receiver more valuable in fantasy football right now than Malik Nabers. Right now, he is averaging over 12 targets per game, which is an absurd number, putting up points against good defenses. Cleveland Browns have one of the better defenses in the NFL, and it didn't matter. He was able to put up monster numbers. Daniel Jones is targeting him like crazy. He's already got 3 touchdowns on the year. Look, he might have already entered that Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb type of tier in just his 3rd game already. And not far behind him, Marvin Harrison Jr., also a guy now with 3 touchdowns. These rookies are looking like gold. A name to keep in mind that wasn't on a lot of people's radar, Darnell Mooney. He's been wide receiver 15 over the past 2 weeks, and we know that week 1 was rough for that whole offense against Pittsburgh, but all of a sudden, he's looking like a very legitimate asset in fantasy football. He is 2nd on the team in targets and only 1 away from the team lead with that's Drake London. So it's not a guy that I'm necessarily going crazy over, but definitely one that I'm keeping in mind, and a guy I wouldn't mind throwing into a deal if I'm trying to work on a trade for a bigger player. Sam Darnold, quarterback 2 overall right now. Who saw that coming? Wow, it's been incredible to see what he's done. And this is going to get really interesting because they drafted J.J. McCarthy in the 1st round. But if Sam Darnold keeps this up, takes this team to the playoffs, Now, all of a sudden, we're talking about a huge quarterback controversy. Do you go with the veteran that has done great for your team, or do you go with the rookie that you spent a really high draft choice on? This is going to be a tough decision for Minnesota, but for right now, if you were somebody that took Sam Darnold and you're utilizing him, man, just reap the benefits. All of a sudden, it's not the bell cow back that we thought we were getting in Breece Hall. Now, the numbers have still been fantastic, so you're not panicking, but all of a sudden, Braylon Allen is very much so a thing for this New York Jets team. He's averaging over 10 points per game, and he had a season high 14 touches this past week, 11 rush attempts, another 3 targets for 3 receptions. So Braylon Allen now has actually a little bit of standalone value, not just as a handcuff to Breece Hall, but if something were to happen to Hall, and we know Hall's been banged up here and there, Braylon Allen could be an incredibly valuable asset. And now maybe this caps the ceiling a little bit for Breece Hall, where we were talking about maybe RB1 overall. Maybe that's not a legitimate option now, just because there's going to be so many valuable touches that might be stolen away.